name is David. I'm 24 years old, and in this video, I'm going to be explaining how I first learned to trade and really how I got introduced to trading. Before we get started, if you could make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, that would really help the channel grow and reach as many people as possible. Now, first things first, I was born and raised in Bakersfield, California. I graduated high school in 2018, and I was accepted into UC Santa Barbara that fall of 2018. Now, at the time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was just following the advice from my parents and from everybody around me, which was just to put my head down, get good grades, graduate with my bachelor's, and everything should be good, right? Well, nobody would have been able to anticipate the world shutting down and everybody going on lockdown. Because of that, I was furloughed from my job on campus at the catering department, and I was stuck inside wondering how I can make up for my lost income. Now, at the time, I of course had heard of the stock market, but I was always under the assumption that you needed a lot of money and you needed a lot of time for it to be worthwhile. And plus, I'd already started investing in my Roth IRA at the time, so investing in the stock market was something I already was doing. I was more interested in learning how to make an income that was quick and more than what I could make working a typical job. That's when I was introduced to the concept of Forex. I, of course, saw all of the videos on YouTube and Instagram of these quote-unquote gurus flashing their luxury supercars and massive penthouses and designer clothing. And just like most other people, I was sucked in and I was hooked. I immediately started researching everything there was about Forex. I watched every YouTube video I could and demo tested every strategy possible. At this time, I was still taking classes online via Zoom since every campus was shut down. But I had just received my last paycheck from the catering department of just over $100. Guys, I literally used that $100 and I deposited it into a live trading account with like no legitimate back-tested strategy, no legitimate edge, no real concept of risk management and emotional discipline, just blindly taking trades because of the RSI was overbought or oversold, or because of price being above or below the 50 EMA. I could go on and on with all the different strategies I used, but miraculously, I turned that $100 into $1,540 within 2 months exactly. And as if you guys could have guessed, I thought I was that guy. My confidence and expectation for this entire thing, it really wasn't realistic at the time. And as every real trader knows, you will hit rock bottom and you will experience losses. And that's exactly what happened to me. I remember the trade specifically to this day. I was in a Euro NZD short and I was using the RSI strategy. And of course, I was over leveraging on my small account. I was using standard lots and I was dollar cost averaging into my position, hoping that price would reverse in my favor. And get this, guys, I was actually up $100 on the trade at one point. On a $1,500 account, that's a 6.5%, give or take, percent profit for the day. And I was greedy and I wanted more. Little did I know that one of the European Union presidents was giving a speech right at that time. And I, of course, had no idea of what fundamental news was. So I literally went from being up $100 for the day to watching my account go to zero in 1 minute. I literally remember closing my laptop and just crying. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was depressed for days, for weeks, for months. It was rough, guys. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. All I could think about was how I blew my account and how it was all my fault. But there was this little thought in the back of my head that kept springing up, and it was the fact that if I was on the other side of that trade, I would have doubled or tripled my $1,500 account. And I was also thinking about how there's people out there with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars that were in that exact same trade who doubled and tripled their accounts that same day, given that they were using, similar lot sizes as me. But yeah, I started learning about fundamental analysis, technical analysis, risk management, emotional discipline, and the importance of backtesting your strategy. It was really after I took the time to learn about all of these concepts and started incorporating all of them into my trading, it was when I really saw my progress take off. Now, by taking off, I mean my demo account, because at that time I really was not emotionally ready to risk my own capital at that time. And I was doing research and looking into possibilities, and this was when I was introduced to the concept of prop firms. Now, for those of you that don't know about prop firms or have never heard of prop firms, basically prop firms are companies that are willing to provide traders capital as long as they're able to adhere to certain risk parameters and they're able to profit a certain amount. These are called challenges, and basically during the challenge, you are not allowed to lose a certain amount of money, and you're also supposed to make a certain amount of money. So really, these prop firms are looking for traders that are consistently profitable, that are not, gunslingers, that are not going for $20,000, $50,000 payouts, because that takes a lot of risk to make that amount of money. And when you're using other people's money, you have to follow their rules. So essentially, there's two ways that you can get into the trading business. One is you could either fund your own personal account, you can deposit your own money, and you can use that to trade with, but most people don't have a lot of money, and really, in order for you to make consistent gains over time, is you will need a substantial amount of capital, because you do not want to be over risking, you do not want to be over leveraging, you want to be risking a fixed amount every trade, and you want to let the losers come with the winners. What's important is that at the end of the week and at the end of the month, are you profitable? Were you able to follow your rules? Were you able to stay disciplined? Were you able to not succumb to your emotions like greed or fear? These are the things that really prop firms are looking for, and that is why they are willing to fund traders capital in order to trade with. And that's when I realized that prop firms offer the possibility of having a large amount of capital and being able to profit off that capital without you having to take years and years of your savings, or take years and years of you having to save in order to deposit this money into your account to then go ahead and trade. And trading your own money, it comes with a lot of emotional issues. You aren't trading the same. You tend to take less risk. You tend to be more fearful. There's a lot of more things that can go wrong when you're trading your own personal account, whereas if you are trading a prop firm, it kind of forces you to stay within the boundaries that they give, and it ultimately almost forces you to become profitable, because none of these gurus, none of these Instagram, YouTube flexers, none of them have been able to show a consistently profitable track record. All they've been able to show are just massive payouts and strategies that really, at the end of the day, don't work. And so that was something that I had to learn at this time as well, was, the difference between using my own money versus using prop firm money. And also during this time, I had to focus on graduating with my bachelor's because I had student loan debt that I needed to pay back as soon as I graduated. But I promised myself that if I were to ever get back into trading, that it would be for real and that I would take it serious. You know, I would have a trading plan, I would have a verifiable edge, I would not be over leveraging, I would not be over risking. But this is where FTMO came into play. Because of their funding requirements, they forced me to step away from having a gambler mindset and really shift to small and consistent gains over a long period of time, which doesn't sound exciting, but it really is the key to profitability. So long story short, I had my fair share of failed challenges. You know, I paid challenge fees. I must have failed, I want to say 3 or 4 challenges. But what really made me reconsider just how delicate and privileged of a situation that I was in was that I was one of the last United States-based clients who were allowed to purchase an FTMO challenge and proceed with the challenge and verification phases to have the opportunity to receive $100,000 in funding. I'm not sure if you guys know, but at this time there was a big debacle happening with MetaQuotes and with MetaTrader, and a lot of these brokerages, a lot of these prop firms were forced to stop using MetaQuotes and MetaTrader, and they were forced to transition into other platforms like DXTrade, TradeLocker, you know, programs like that. And so during this time, FTMO had come out with a statement stating that they were no longer accepting United States clients. And so I, of course, was very worried because I had purchased a challenge and I was actively working on it at that time. And so I reached out to FTMO, I emailed them, and I asked them, you know, does this apply to me since I have already purchased the challenge? You know, how does it work going forward? You know, if I pass the challenge and I pass the verification, will I indeed receive funding, or is this just a null effort at this point? And FTMO reached out to me and they said that no, that I am good to go, that I essentially was one of the last United States clients that they allowed to purchase a challenge, and they said that as long as I'm able to pass the 10% profit target in phase 1 and the 5% profit target in phase 2, that I would be allowed to sign the FTMO contract and that I would be allowed to become an FTMO trader and I would receive funding from them. So that really was the one thing that helped to change my perception on this, on how I really need to treat this as a long-term thing and not something that is an overnight success. And so it was just one of those things where I had to take advantage of the situation that I was in, and I had to maximize, you know, my opportunity that was being given to me. So because of this, because of the fact that I was one of the last United States clients to be allowed to purchase a challenge with FTMO, this was, I knew, my last chance at being funded with the biggest and one of the most reputable prop firms in the world. So I treated this challenge phase like my life depended on it. I was fortunate that at this time, the time limit restriction was also removed. So I had no restriction. I was able to pass the challenge with however much time it took me. And I remember vividly passing phase 1 at work. I remember how at the time, my parents and my family and my friends and my coworkers and everybody around me, they just kept asking me, you know, how much longer until you start making real money? How much longer until you're not trading on demo how much longer until you get to actually see some real money? And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, sometimes I did feel like giving up. Sometimes I did feel like giving into what they were saying and just letting go of this dream of mine. But there was this voice inside of me that kept saying that, if I can make 10% or $10,000, for phase one, then I can definitely make 5,000 or 5% for phase two. So guys, I literally took an entire year. I took an entire year to make that 5% profit. I know most people don't take that long. Most people are able to pass much quicker than mine. But because of my situation, because of how delicate of a situation I was in, I really did not want to lose this opportunity. Because if I failed this challenge, then I would never be able to join FTMO. And that was always a dream of mine. Seeing people that were funded, that were able to live the life that they wanted on their own terms. And all it took was just a couple years, dedication, consistency, and never giving up. And you know what, guys? I took an entire year to make that 5%, but you know what? I did it. I literally made the 5% profit target for phase two. I passed phase one, I passed phase two. I received my $100,000 funded account with FTMO. Despite the odds, despite, the statistics, everybody knows the statistics. Everybody knows that 90% of traders, they lose money. And 90% of traders are not profitable. Not only that, but out of the 10% of profitable traders who actually have an edge, those who go through the funding process like I did, those traders who pass phase one and pass phase two, less than 1% of those traders make it to the first payout. So what that means is that I have literally achieved something that 99% of people can't do. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit the like button and share this video with as many people as possible. I really just want to show people that this is possible and that anybody can really do this. And if there's anything that I can do to help people avoid the learning curve that I had to go through, then I'm more than happy to help. Will it take some time? Yes. Will it be hard? Yes. But honestly, the best person to bet on is yourself. Not anybody or anything else. Always bet on yourself, because knowing that you can make somebody's monthly salary in a few hours should be enough motivation for you to see the power and the meaning behind trading and how trading can really provide you financial freedom. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.